Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer because today we are unpacking something that affects literally every single one of us, every single day. We're talking about India's laws on misleading advertisements. We're going to look at exactly how the legal framework here is designed to protect everyday consumers, like you and me, from deceptive marketing. It is a fascinating space where everyday shopping collides with high-stakes corporate law. Okay, let's be real for a second. Have you ever bought a guaranteed miracle product that just completely failed to work? You know the ones. Maybe it was an instant weight loss tea or some gadget hiding behind a massive fake discount. It's incredibly frustrating, right? Businesses spend billions trying to influence our choices, but when they cross that line from persuasion into outright deception, we're the ones left holding the bag and losing our hard-earned cash. So, here is our roadmap for today. First, the anatomy of deception. Then, we'll look at your legal shields, dive into some landmark court battles, examine the new influencer liability, and finally, give you a step-by-step playbook on how to fight back. All right, let's get into part one, the anatomy of deception. Under the law, an ad is officially misleading if it gives false information or deliberately conceals facts. And advertisers? Well, they usually rely on 5 classic tricks. First up, false performance claims. Yeah, looking at you, guaranteed exam success without a shred of proof. It's kind of comical until you realize how many people fall for it. Second, fake discounts, where a seller hikes up the price just to offer a massive phony discount back down to normal. Then we've got bait advertising, luring you in with a cheap product that magically isn't in stock when you try to buy it. Fourth is hidden conditions, those wonderful free trials that automatically drain your credit card because of some microscopic fine print. And lastly, misleading health claims, like guaranteed cures for serious stuff. Those are heavily policed because they actually threaten public safety. Moving right along to part two, your legal shields. The absolute cornerstone of India's regulatory framework is the Consumer Protection Act of 2019. The crucial takeaway here is that this act specifically classifies misleading ads as an unfair trade practice. Honestly, this was a massive game changer. It finally gave some serious teeth to consumer rights, establishing once and for all that advertisers simply cannot fake guarantees or hide information without facing severe consequences. Now, policing this market takes a whole alphabet soup of regulators, each with their own turf. At the top, we've got the CCPA, the Central Consumer Protection Authority. They are the heavy hitters, the primary enforcers who can investigate, pull ads down, and issue fines. Next is ASCI, the Advertising Standards Council of India. They're a self-regulatory body, making sure ads stay honest. Then you have specialized watchdogs like the FSSAI handling those tricky food and health claims. And finally, the CCI, the Competition Commission of India, stepping in when false advertising actually messes with fair market competition. So what happens when businesses actually break the rules? Well, the CCPA doesn't just hand out warnings. They can impose incredibly heavy monetary penalties. We are talking up to 10 lakh rupees, that's a cool million rupees, just for a first violation. And if a business has the nerve to repeat the offense, that fine can skyrocket up to 50 lakh. They can even force companies to run corrective ads to publicly admit and fix their false claims. Let's pivot to part 3, landmark court battles. Let's see how this actually plays out in high-stakes courtrooms, starting with the famous Dabur India versus Colortech Meghalaya case. The Delhi High Court had to draw a very strict line in the sand between puffery and affirmative misrepresentation. See, puffery is harmless exaggeration, saying you brew the finest tea in the world. That is just legal boasting and it's protected free speech. But the moment you cross over into affirmative misrepresentation, making an active, false claim about your product or arrivals, you lose that constitutional protection completely. The courts took this logic even further in the Horlicks versus Heinz India case. Heinz claimed its Complan brand was nutritionally superior to Horlicks, throwing around specific numbers about protein and nutrients. The court basically said, look, general praise like our drink is great is fine, but the second you use numbers to claim superiority, like our drink has 5x more protein, you better have the scientific evidence to back it up. If you don't, that's unlawful misrepresentation. Which brings us to a massive, highly publicized showdown at the Supreme Court, the Indian Medical Association versus Union of India. Most people know it as the Patanjali case. Patanjali Ayurveda was running ads disparaging allopathic medicine while making unverified curative claims for its own herbal products. This wasn't just corporate beef. This was a national public health issue. And the Supreme Court's reaction was historic. They didn't just punish the company, they actually turned their gaze on the state itself. The court held that the CCPA, state governments, and the Ministry of Information and Broadcasting had collectively failed to enforce the laws already on the books. They established that systemic non-enforcement against misleading health ads violates consumer rights at a constitutional level. It totally transformed consumer protection, sending a loud message. The government has to proactively enforce these laws, not just sit around waiting for private complaints. All right, moving into part 4, the influencer liability. So we all live in the digital era now, and millions rely on influencers and celebrities for recommendations. But the rules have changed. The law now clearly states that public figures cannot just blindly read a script a brand hands to them. They are legally required to practice reasonable due diligence. That means they must independently verify the claims and check the evidence before endorsing a product. Plus, they absolutely must disclose paid partnerships so you know it's a sponsored ad and not just their new favorite thing. Because if they ignore these rules, there are real, tangible consequences. If a creator fails to verify a claim and pushes a misleading ad, they face massive monetary fines. And honestly, even worse for their career, authorities can slap them with complete bans on future endorsements for a specified time. The law is finally holding them accountable for the immense trust that we, the consumers, place in them. Which leads us to our final section, Part 5, How to Fight Back. You are actually armed with 4 fundamental rights here. The right to information means they can't hide material facts. The right to safety protects you from deceptive health claims. The right to consumer education means you're entitled to understand these tricky practices. But the big one, the right to seek compensation. If a misleading ad causes you harm or financial loss, you are fully entitled to refunds, damages, or replacements. So if you realize you've been scammed, here is your 5-step playbook. Step 1, collect your evidence. Keep the screenshots, the emails, the packaging, the whole shebang. Step 2, contact the business directly. You'd be surprised, sometimes they just refund you immediately to avoid the headache. Step 3, if they ignore you, file a formal complaint with the Consumer Commission. Step 4, report that ad straight to ASCI so they can get it taken down. And Step 5, if it involves food or finance, approach sector regulators like the FSSI or RBI. So we've broken down the anatomy of deception, the massive fines, the landmark court battles, and the new rules for influencers. The entire legal framework in India has been overhauled to empower you. The state has been ordered to step up, and the courts are drawing hard lines against corporate deception. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. The law is ready to protect you, but are you ready to use it? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Save those receipts, know your rights, and stay sharp out there.